Those that are able, please rise.
Good morning, and call this meeting to order, and we recognize and acknowledge that we stand on the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Members of the public are advised that our meetings are webcast live by the City of Hamilton and temporarily archived on the city's website. Other individuals and the media may also be audibly or visually recording this meeting, and a reminder that we turn all electronic devices to the non-audible function during our council meeting, so please remain standing for our national anthem. And this is our inaugural meeting of the new council, and I look forward to a great 4 years. And to get us started off on the right foot, I'd like to welcome Pastor John Mahaffey of the West Highland Baptist Church. He is a veteran missionary to the Philippines and former pastor of a large multicultural church in Toronto, and has been leading the West Highland Baptist Church for the past 11 years. West Highland, which is in its 47th year as a ministry in the city of Hamilton, is a growing congregation of over 800 people. Located on the West Mountain, the church serves the broader Hamilton community through a variety of ministries geared to meeting the needs of families, including new Canadians and the less fortunate. And one of these ministries is the King's Garden, which supplies fresh produce to local agencies each and every year. So Pastor Mahaffey, we're delighted to have you here, and welcome, and share your thoughts with members of council.
Well, thank you very much. It's a delight for me to be here today. I was last with your mayor back in October of 2016 when we expanded our facilities. He was there for the dedication at that time, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to pray with you today. If you'd allow me to do so, I'm grateful that I can do in public today what many in our church do for all of you on a regular basis, and that is we pray for you. Our church is committed, as you are, to serving this city, and I want to convey our appreciation for the work that you do on our behalf. If you join me in prayer, please. Almighty God, our Father, I want to thank you for this honor of being able to stand here with these servants of our city this morning. Lord, these men and women, our mayor, our councilors, those who assist them and serve with them, have been entrusted by you with a great stewardship of authority and responsibility. Today I want to thank you for their faithful service and ask that you would continue to endow them with a spirit of love and justice, that they may in all things walk before you with steadfast purpose and a single heart, and faithfully serve you, our city, and all of its constituents. Grant them, I pray, O Lord, wisdom that they need to face the often difficult complexities and decisions of their work. Grant to them, Lord, skill and energy that they need for the tasks and decisions that lie before them. And may their good work contribute to a growing spirit of charity, prosperity, and brotherly affection among all the people and communities of our city. Give to them, Lord, I pray, grace in the face of criticism, perseverance for the longevity of their important labor, mutual respect for one another and the differing opinions that they may express from time to time, and give them joy in the opportunities of service. And I ask all of this in the name of the one who was born 2,000 years ago to live a life that exemplified true servanthood in the things that he did, in the words that he spoke, in the miracles he performed, and in the giving of his life for us all, the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend, and all the best to the Highland Baptist Church. Keep doing your good work. I see Councillor Jackson not here, but he did want to acknowledge the passing of former Alderman John Smith, pass along the condolences to his family. Alderman John Smith was a councillor some time ago and served as a pastor of a church in his later years, and was certainly a public servant that was well respected and well appreciated for all the work they did in our community. So I just wanted, on behalf of Councillor Jackson, he might be along later, he might want to say some words, but I indicated that he wanted to share some thoughts. So when he gets here, we might want to do that later, but we do want to pass our condolences along to the family of Alderman John Smith. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. There are 3 added communication items. 5.31E is from the Realtors Association of Hamilton, Burlington, and Hamilton District Apartment Association respecting the rental licensing bylaw and pilot project. It's being received and referred to the consideration of item 2 of the Planning Committee report. 5.39 is correspondence from the Hamilton Urban Core Community Health Center seeking council support for their application for a consumption and treatment service within their center to the province by December 31st, 2018. It's for council's consideration. 540 is being distributed right now. It's the notice of application of Better Niagara. It's to be received. There are 2 changes to the disposition of 2 communication items. 5.24, excuse me, is correspondence from the MPCA. It's to be received only, as the appointments were made at the December 12th GIC meeting. 5.26, the correspondence from the Canadian Cancer Society, requesting that the City of Hamilton increase the annual license fee for tobacco and e-cigarette retailers, is to be received and referred to the General Manager of Planning and Economic Development. There is 1 revision to a committee report, 6.5, page 9 of Appendix F to GIC Report 18-022 is being revised. There is an addition of 1 committee report, 6.9, the Special General Issues Committee Report 18-023 from yesterday. There are 4 added notices of motion. 8.2 is an annual reports on the discharges to natural environment from Dundas and Woodward Sewerage Treatment Plants, or CSO, and protocol for immediate notification to council. 8.3 is the annual report of water main breaks. 8.4 is the city's outflow monitoring. 8.5 is Ward 3 community grants. And there are 8 added bylaws which are before you.
Thank you. So can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Collins, seconded by Mr. Pauls. All in favor? Carried. Are there any declarations of interest? Okay. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a conflict for item number 5.28, which is a letter from the Minister regarding TerraPure. The Integrity Commissioner has advised that I don't have a pecuniary conflict of interest, but there's an apparent conflict, so I won't participate in that item. And on item 5.3 and 6.4, once again, the Integrity Commissioner advised that I don't have a pecuniary conflict, but I have an apparent conflict because the HDAA was a past client of mine, so I won't participate in those items.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted by the clerk. Councillor Ferguson.
I have a conflict on item 6.5, Appendix F, which which is the licensing report as it relates to the 2019 fees for taxis.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a conflict as well on Planning Committee with regards to rental licensing, as I am a landlord. And I believe, if I read the agenda or the minutes correctly, on Healthy and Safe Communities, a motion was also passed with regards to some funding for tenants with regards to claims before the Rental Housing Tribunal. So I will declare a conflict on that item as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marula.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm going to declare an interest in order to prevent the conflict as a result of my wife and I being partners in rental properties and on both items as Councillor Pearson mentioned. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vanderbeek.
Thank you. I have the same interest to avoid a conflict as Councillor Marula and Councillor Pearson. So if you could add my name to that as well, thank you.
Okay, so we're duly noted on all of those. All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much. Okay, so we are going to be visited today by director of the largest Winona Peach Festival in the world. Linda Schuker is making her annual visit today. Linda, come on down, and I know that we always look forward to seeing you here with envelope in hand, but we also look forward to seeing you to tell us about how wonderful the Winona Peach Festival was this year. So, welcome.
Thank you for putting me on the agenda this morning, and it's nice to see some new faces around the table. So I look forward, or the Peach Festival looks forward to working with you folks and getting to know you. As you know that Brenda Johnson has always been a big supporter of the Peach Festival, but I think this year is a win-win situation because Brenda has now changed wards. I am now going to also have the opportunity to work hand in hand with Maria Pearson, so I look forward to doing that as well, Maria. This year's Peach Festival was a success. We lucked out with weather. Bad weather was all around us, but it didn't seem to hit us. But anyways, we collected 4,302 pounds of food, $890.70 in cash, which was all donated to the Salvation Army. And that's all working in partnership with the HSR, and so we're really appreciative of that as well. To give you a very brief history of why I'm standing here this morning, in 2006, when I first became president, we needed to do some major upgrades in the Winona Park. So we kindly asked the City of Hamilton for a loan of $130,000 to upgrade our electrical facilities. So each December for the following 10 years, I stood here with due diligence and handed a check of $13,000 each December. And that loan was paid off in December of 2016. Well, guess what happened in those 10 years? The hydro inspection came and said we were outdated again. And so we kindly approached the City of Hamilton again and asked for a loan. And this year we took out a loan of $100,000, which was kindly granted to us. So I stand here with due diligence to present Mayor Fred with a check of $10,000.
Thank you.
Spend it wisely, my friend.
You bet, you bet. Well, we'll cover off the load. Thank you, Linda. And you know what? The Peach Festival was a great success this year. It was hot. Peaches were wonderful, and the event was enjoyed by tens of thousands of people. So it was a wonderful event, and we appreciate your ongoing due diligence to repay the loan that has improved the park significantly. So thank you very much. Great job. I'm going to lay that here and fire that over to airmail this thing. Thank you, Linda, and we'll see you at the next Peach Festival for sure. Okay. Members of Council, a motion to approve. Yes? Sorry? Oh, there you go. Councilor Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could just say a few words. Thank you, Linda, and certainly for all the members and citizens that help with the Peach Festival. It's a phenomenal event. Yes, you had a great year, and I'm going to ask, and I wish you had still been up there, how many Sundays sold this year? Do we know? How many Sundays? No? Well, I'm going to wait and see if we can get that information because it's... Appreciate it. Thank you. So again, it's a fabulous event. I think it's the best event. Well, I have to be careful because it's balanced with exactly the Rockton World's Fair. So we'll be sure we're balanced with that on both ends of the city. So again, thank you to the committee and Peach Festival members. Thank you.
You can say unequivocally it's the best peach festival we have. Absolutely. Second to none, that's right. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone good? Thank you. Okay, members of council, a motion to approve the minutes of September 26, 2018 needs to be moved by someone that was present, moved by Pearson, second by Vanderbeek. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Another motion on the minutes of October the 16th as presented, moved by Ferguson, seconded by Collins. All in favor? Carried. And a motion to approve the minutes of December 3rd, 2018 as presented, moved by Partridge, seconded by Farr. All in favor? Carried. And we are now at a fairly lengthy items of communication. So we'll again deal with them one at a time, just to indicate your approval or stop me if you have comments. So on item 5.1, all in favor? 5.2? On 5.2, Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on 5.2, it's correspondence from York Region. It's with regards to, I'm assuming it's a review of the integrating the transit fares across municipalities, and I just want to be sure to staff, I know it says to report back, or that it's being sent to the General Manager of Public Works for appropriate action. I just want to be sure also that it's going to be brought, I'm sure, to Public Works, but it's going to be, will be advised budget implications and any changes, because I'm sure there's going to be some fluctuations between what other municipalities pay and what we pay if they're trying to flatline that out to a balance. So just an indication that certainly I'm sure there would be budget implications and that we would be kept aware.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure that's the intent. I thought some nodding over there. Councillor Collins.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And on the same issue, I fully agree, and I was hoping that it would be part of the Transit Day presentation. Fare integration is an issue that's caused us some great consternation here locally. We have some of the lowest fares in the province, and so I'm not interested in hiking those fees to make them comparable to the City of Toronto or some of the other GTA municipalities. And so there would be severe budget implications for us, either increasing subsidy and or passing along fare increases to our riders. So I'm hoping that whatever information we have that's most current, this correspondence obviously is dated September 2018, so it is a bit old, but I would like to get an update as part of Transit Day in terms of where we're at with fare integration and the discussions that have been had at a provincial level.
Okay, thank you. So you wanted to go to Public Works and to Transit Day? Is that your inference? Okay. Can we accommodate that, both venues? Yeah? I'm seeing yes. Okay, so why don't we add that as an amendment then? That includes Transit Day as well. Moved by yourself, seconded by Councillor Partridge. All in favor? On the main motion then, all in favor? Carried. 5.3. 5.4. We will? Way well works well. Okay, way well. Councillor
At
Farr.
5.3, I chimed in.
5.3.
I just want to quickly thank the residents of Park Street. This is a petition with respect to just the day before the municipal election really kicked off and we concluded things here, a petition of about 75 names with respect to a 4-block stretch of Park Street North and a conversion from one-way to two-way. I can tell you I spoke to a great many of the people who've signed this petition since. The conversion actually happened the next day once clerks received the petition, and this was the earliest the petition could come to us. That said, I've vowed to continue to work with them. A lot of the concerns that I heard at the door are familiar whenever we do two-way conversions. I tried to explain that in a lot of cases, those concerns are greatly mitigated over time. We are doing a major capital repair and redevelopment of that street, and I intend, and as I told the residents, most of whom signed this petition, we will, at the time of talking about how that construction is going to play out and affect them on Park Street, we'll also review how the conversion has been on them with respect to their daily movements at that time. So I just wanted to update council and get that on the record because I do appreciate that this has been forwarded to us. I've talked to the petitioner on a number of occasions and like I say, many of the people on this list. So we're going to continue to engage on this and we very much appreciate the engagement here today.
Great, thank you. So anyone else on 5.3? No? All in favor? Carried. 5.4. Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the correspondence is timely. It is talking about ensuring that the province engage the municipalities in any changes or contemplation of changes to legislation that ensure the consultations take place. But I think for the benefit, especially the new councillors, it would be helpful. So I certainly support the principle. AMO is one of those agencies that represent, so we can pass resolutions to go to AMO, and AMO is basically the lobbying arm of the municipalities of Ontario with the province. Having said that, doesn't mean that municipalities don't take on that responsibility themselves. I think it'd be helpful, Mr. Mayor, because I know we've had these conversations. We got the Government Relations Committee, I believe, subcommittee. But there's also other interactions directly with the province, and I think it'd be nice if we can have that mapped out, whether it's through the city managers or through the treasurer, or the general manager of finance, so we can help facilitate and inform the new councillors where all those intersects are. So I'm just asking if we can bring that back at some point.
Okay, well, and we'll do that through the Government Relations Committee. So we haven't met yet, but I think that would be the appropriate place to kind of bring that. So if you want to ask staff to prepare that for the Government Relations Committee, that would be appropriate.
Sure, because I think even when I, Mr. Mayor, first got elected, I didn't realize how many intersects we have with the province. And I think it's helpful to understand where those intersects are and where conversations take place pertinent to legislation changes. Thank you.
Okay, so did you want to approve this this consultation document here, which basically says consultation for, so endorse this? Okay. So moved by yourself, seconded by JP Danko. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And then, Councillor, some direction to bring to government relations, a roadmap for government relations going forward. Okay. Thank you. Item 5.5. All in favor? 5.6. 5.7. 5.8. 5.9, 5.10, 5.11, 5.12, 5.13, 5.14, 5.15, 5.16, 5.17, 5.18, 5.19, 5.20, 5.21, 22, 23, on 22. Councillor Ferguson.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is a letter that came out from the Minister of the Environment replying to your letter September the 12th, which was triggered by a council resolution for a composting facility to expedite the approval, because, you know, it had been shut down since June at that time. Now it's still shut down. I found it a little concerning when they replied to your letter under 522 is that they didn't even have an application yet. And so I wanted just a question. I see Dan's not here, but maybe over to the acting GM of Public Works, Edward.
Okay.
My question is, has that application been submitted now?
Thank you, the Mayor, to the councillor. I'm going to ask staff member to address that. The application has been submitted.
It has been sent. Can you just explain to the public why it took so long to get the application in when we passed the resolution at council in September and the mayor's letter went out in September? Why it took till November to put that application in?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The application was completed and sent in approximately 3 or so weeks ago, near the mid to end November. Excuse me. The amount of work that needed to go into developing that application was substantial. There were some documents that were required excuse me, from the ministry in order to have a full and complete package to submit so that it wouldn't be rejected back to us.
Councillor Ferguson.
Okay, it was just a touch embarrassing that we asked them to expedite the application. The application wasn't in until 2 months after we sent the letter in. But, you know, we got to move forward. So I wonder, through you, Mr. Mayor, again, could you just confirm what we were told at Public Works, just for the benefit of the public and the balance of council, that you intend to start that facility back up again in January?
Yes, we have very much all of our intentions is to start the facility up in 2019, early 2019. So there are some things that we have to ensure that are in place before we start up, as in hiring staff back for the facility to run properly and to ensure that the ministry is okay and happy with our startup plan.
Okay, so just once again to reconfirm this, is that the public can get comfortable with the fact that come January, we'll be starting that plant back up and won't be landfilling the green bin material.
We are comfortable at this point with indicating that we will be starting up in a January to February timeframe.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. On 522 then, all in favor? 523, 24, 25, 26. And which one, Councillor? Okay. Councillor Jackson.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I was just wondering as well if we want to include the medical officer of health and the public health department as part of the consultation here. Could I amend that to include that department as well, please?
You certainly could.
If I could get a seconder for that, please.
Second, Councillor Whitehead. Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Carried. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
The item as a whole. All in favor? Thank you. 27, 28, 29. We're getting there. 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 33. Councillor Pearson. Okay, Councillor Marula, same issue?
Yeah, that's correct.
Councillor Vanderbeek, same issue? Okay, thank you. So on back to item 531, then all in favor? Carried. 32, 533, 534, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Which one, Councillor? Thank you.
Thank you. We have before us a rather pressing ask. I don't think it's one that's going to undo the proceedings here today in any negative way. It's from Hamilton Urban Core, and as most of my colleagues, if not all, including yourself, Mr. Mayor, know, Hamilton Urban Core currently manages our only safe consumption site. It's located on Rebecca Street in the heart of Beasley. And quite simply, this brief communique speaks to the successes of what about a year and a half ago Council approved as a means to address the opioid crisis, which is particularly a problem here in Hamilton with respect to provincial averages, as we all know. We decided to support this almost unanimously, I believe, as a means to tackle this issue. And think in ways we haven't in the past. And clearly it has been a success, and clearly Hamilton Urban Core wants to continue with their good works and with their partners in the community, and they talk about how they've engaged the community and they've done terrific work. So with that, and this is where I'm in your hands, Mr. Mayor, or Clerk Pilon, they have written a motion here. I've read the motion. I have no issue with the motion. They are currently under the gun to get a application into the province for an extension. And they ask, I won't go through the whereases, it's attached and you can see that, but therefore be it resolved that the City of Hamilton support, by approval of this motion, Hamilton Urban Core Community Health Centre's 2018 application to the Province of Ontario for funding under the Consumption and Treatment Services Program. I would love to move it. It'd be great if I could move it now. I know it's unorthodox for a communication item, but their timelines are really tight, I think December 31st, and this is the only occasion that we have, and they have just forwarded it to us. And I'll just say briefly, I have met with Michelle Baird, who is fronting this file quite effectively for all of us. From our health department, and I appreciate all of her good works and assistance here as well. So I'm in your hands. If I can move it now, I'd love a seconder, and so we can officially support their approval or support their application.
And I would say you can move it now, and so I think we had a seconder over here by Councillor Whitehead. My understanding is that the extensions have been granted. This is for the funding issue, right?
Right.
That's what I understood
Michelle's here to
already happened. So if we want it to continue, it can continue, but they need funding to keep it going. So thank you for raising that. And Councillor Whitehead, do you want to speak to that? Go ahead.
First of all, Mr. Mayor, I want to highlight the respect and leadership of yourself on the opioid issue in the City of Hamilton, and certainly Councillor Farr. Second piece is I'm proud, being one of the councillors was here in the inception and the creation of the Urban Core Clinic. And thirdly, I've actually toured the clinic and understand, as a mountain resident, the invaluable service they provide the lower city. So I wanted to highlight that we're fortunate to have this organization in the location it's in currently to meet the needs of the community. And I don't think we have to go far to understand the proliferation of issues around addiction and mental health and so forth. And how it's underfunded in regards to resources providing the services. So I wholeheartedly support this timely request.
Great, thank you very much. So on that then, on 539, as the motion has been put forward, all in favor? Carried. Any opposed? Hearing none. So on 539 to receive that correspondence, all in favor? Carried, thank you. On 540, which is a notice of application, a Better Niagara NPCA, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So late last night, Councillor Brenda Johnson, myself, and Mayor Eisenberger received this notice from a Better Niagara. They're going to court Friday morning and arguing that the composition of the Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority should be actually upwards of 27 members for Niagara, as opposed to what the Assistant Deputy Minister wrote to everyone explaining that Niagara had 4 members, Niagara had 5 members, Hamilton had 4, and Haldimand had 2. So it's kind of urgent that we deal with this, so I'm not sure how we deal with it. I think we have to go in camera at some point to receive legal advice from our city solicitor, but timing is really tight given that the hearing is set for 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. So I look to the city solicitor and yourself, sir.
And we certainly can go to the solicitor. My thought would be that we just direct staff to have at least a representative there. I mean, I don't think we don't have standing, but we could certainly be an overseer of the process. So I think that the simple solution is ask our staff to attend, and if we want greater detail in terms of the whole NPCA issue, we could go in camera later to discuss that. So I'm in your hands as well. Madam Solicitor?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, certainly if that is the will of council to direct that we attend and observe, we can certainly do that and we can report back, and if further actions are needed on behalf of the city, we can certainly get that direction at that time.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Clark?
Kind of shut off sorry about that. No getting used to this new system here. I guess my concern is that simply going and observing may not actually protect the interests of the city of Hamilton. As I read the application, we have to be there and make a motion or something to participate in the process, not simply to observe. And I think we should be reaching out to the minister's office to make sure that they're aware of this, because this notice did not go to everybody. It just went to Niagara Peninsula Conservation Authority. I understand they'll be present, but Hamilton and Haldimand have a very clear interest in this, as does the province. So I'm thinking that we may want to reach beyond just ourselves, but more than just observe. We should be defending the city's interests.
So let me suggest then that we defer this thing to an in-camera item later and have that broader discussion with legal to get a better understanding and then more specific direction if required. So rather than having a great debate here on this communication item, let's just defer that to an in-camera session later on. Does that work?
Happy to do that, sir.
You okay with that, Councillor? Moved and seconded. All in favor to defer? Carried. Thank you for the in-camera session later on. Wonderful. Thank you. Councillor Whitehead, a motion to move into committee of the whole. Oh, sorry. Councillor Farr, may I have a motion on the communications, please? Actually, we're not finished with communications, so to be technical, we do that later on once we've dealt with this last communication item. So I'm going to turn to Councillor Whitehead for a motion to move into committee of the whole, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by the wonderful Councillor Judy Partridge that the Council move into committee of the whole for consideration of committee reports.
Oh, my. She's all starry-eyed. I think she just blushed. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Farr, would you lead us through the committee reports, please?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Wilson, the Council Communications, item 5.1 through 5.40.
Yeah, you're one step behind us now. You want to come up here and just lead us through the reports? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we We still can't hear you. We'll call him Tom Microphone. Okay, Councillor Farr is in the chair. He's going to lead us through the committee reports. Councillor Farr.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, everybody. Especially to our new colleagues, keep in mind, and we've reminded you on a few occasions, this will be your first time buzzing through. I'll try to keep it slower than usual. If you have any questions or you're confused by anything, that does happen, and no question is a bad question. So just flag me down even if I don't see you on the prompter, okay? And I'll try to keep a good pace that helps us all. So we're going to start with the General Issues Committee, which presents Report 18-20, respectfully recommending Item 1, Item 2, Item 3. Oh, there may not be an Item 3, actually. Okay, Mayor Eisenberger, motion please to approve the report as presented and receive the information section.
By Councillor Judy Partridge that the first report of the no, that's not it. That the 22nd report of the General Issues Committee be adopted as amended. No, that's not it. That the got them in backwards here. Hang on. All right, which one is it? 20th? Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Partridge, that the 20th report of the GIC committee be adopted and received, and the communications items referred to wherever it's going to. I got completely lost. Anyway, you know what I mean.
All in favor?
Carried.
Any opposed? Okay, Public Works Committee presents Report 18-13 and respectively recommends Item 1, Item 2, Item 3, Item 4, Item 5, 6, Item 7, Item 8, 9. All right, Councillor Ferguson, may I please have a motion to approve the reports as presented and receive the information section?
You certainly can.
And that's seconded by?
It is moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Vanderbeek, that the 13th report of the Public Works Committee be adopted and presented, and that the information section be received.
All in favor?
Carried.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Okay, on to the Board of Health, presenting its report, 18-008, respectfully recommending Item 1,
Carried.
Item 2, Item 3, Item 4, Item 5, Item 6, Item 7. All right, with a special spotlight on Item number 3, the product of 2 newbies. Congratulations. You've just had unanimous approval of that wonderful initiative made in Hamilton. I will now ask Mayor Eisenberger to please have a motion to approve the report as presented and receive the information section.
Thank you, and it's moved by myself, seconded by, I'm not sure who that is. Whose signature is that?
I believe it's Narinder.
I need an interpretation on this one, but that the 8th report of the Board of Health be adopted as presented in the information section received.
All in favor?
Carried.
Any opposed? The Planning Committee presents Report 18-015, respectfully recommending Item 1, Item 2,
Carried.
Item 3, Item 4, Item 5, Item 5, Item 6, Item 7, Item 8, Item 9. On Item 9, may I ask you, Mr. Mayor, to take the chair? I have one very quick question for Paul Johnson, and I will activate you.
Thank you.
Oh, you can do that yourself?
Yep.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Paul, I had just stopped on the way in 10 minutes before today's meeting from our good friends from Acorn, a representative anyway, with a concern that I felt was appropriate enough at this time to just reaffirm what we learned in Planning Committee with respect to this application for condominium conversion at 115 Main Street East. The application came before us. It was supported by staff. back in, I believe, June, and at that time I had asked that housing staff work with the proponent, in this case Effort Trust, to verify that communications were robust and were appropriate enough when it came to dealing with existing tenants at this current rental facility. And being approached just prior to today's meeting, I don't have all the details. I'd asked for an email. I haven't had a chance to see it, but if you could just confirm for the record here today that indeed that happened and ultimately led to the applicant meeting all the criteria in this case, but also carried out good engagement and communication with the existing tenants.
Director Johnson.
So through the mayor, yes, housing staff did attend. They met with a number of the tenants, and part of this was to verify that the process had been followed. Of course, the issue we were looking at is the 75% were in favor, and there was some concern that we wanted to ensure that people seemed, upon our engagement, to have understood what they were entering into. So we looked at documentation, we talked to a number of the tenants, and although we didn't meet with every single one, that wasn't the purpose. We were satisfied after meeting with a number of the tenants that indeed they understood what was before them and that they had properly been provided the paperwork and had signed off on that. And that was included in the report that did end up going to the Planning Committee, our involvement through Housing Services.
Councillor Farr.
Appreciate it. Thank you, and I'll take the chair back.
Thank you.
On item 9. Oh, Councillor Whitehead, apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And of course, there's a lot of data about vacancy rates, geographically located. I'm not even clear that the Canadian mortgage numbers are reflecting with any accuracy what is actually taking place in the community based on news reports. So I think there's a disconnect in regards to what we're receiving and what we're assessing to support the conversions based on the vacancy rates. Having said that, it was one issue I raised in planning, and I'm going to continue pursuing it because, you know, I've had staff work in those departments, and they understand how they do it, and there's concerns about the lag time and how they acquire those numbers. And if the metrics is wrong, and the information and data is bad, then the information is wrong, then we're making decisions that might put the city in more peril in regards to rental stock in this community. So it concerns me, one. Two, I want to know, when you say in the report that you talk to residents, and I think the threshold is 75%, so do we do this in all condo applications to verify the sign-off on the tenants? And I want to know exactly how many tenants do we actually talk to in the building? How many are registered in that building, and how many do we actually talk to?
So through the Deputy Mayor, I think the number of units in the condo, if I understand, was just around 130. It was 128 in total. We spoke with 40 of the unit holders, so that's a percentage of whatever, closing in on a third of them. We were directed to do this as part of this process, so I think it's important to understand this. We were specifically asked to assist in this case, so I don't believe it's certainly the Housing Services automatic approach to this, that we go out and verify this. We were asked to do that, and we're happy to do this. I also think we need to remember this was a piece of work done under the existing rules of this. The Housing Services Division is wanting to engage in conversations about that 75% piece. We're not convinced that that's a piece that is a good piece to have in going forward, so we want to have more dialogue. So this was something that happened. We wanted to go out and verify as an extra check. We did that, and it's not our normal practice to do that, but we were happy to assist in this report.
So less than 40% of the tenants you talk to when there's a 75% threshold, is that correct?
Through the chair, yes.
And the other thing is when we went to London and they went through, it was a different policy and different regulations, but the principle's the same. They actually put out, so there's a form that they fill out, right, to meet the application. And they would check, you know, how many units, blah, blah, you know, all those things. And I think over 80%, in fact, they canceled that particular form and they started doing what's called verification. Because 80% of the information that was being put on those forms was wrong. It didn't reflect what was going on in the building. So understanding that there's a lot of good people that don't abuse it. It's the people that do abuse it. What is the accountability to ensure that what we're receiving is accurately reflecting what is going on?
So through the chair, I think that the standard procedure for dealing with that one particular test, which is the 75% test, housing does provide sort of a guideline in terms of the expectation, the information that should be shared with tenants, hosting a meeting of tenants, and that's what they would normally look at if an applicant was applying under the 75% rule. As Mr. Johnson pointed out, in response to this particular application, staff was directed to do further due diligence. And so they went above and beyond normal practice to actually go out and directly meet with some of the individual tenants.
And I appreciate that. I think the question is, and I'm glad that we're reviewing that particular approach on the 75% threshold. But what I'm hearing then is we really never had a check and balance unless it was directed uniquely to an application on what was being presented in regards to these applications. Is that correct?
So through the chair, I wouldn't say there wasn't any vetting. What was typically required is the applicant would provide the information. They would provide the statements from the tenants who were supportive. They would provide the agenda and the minutes from the meeting that they held with tenants. And they would provide a copy of the information materials they provided to the tenants. So all of that information would be reviewed by housing staff. Like I said, going out and actually going and meeting one-on-one directly with tenants was an extra step that was taken in this situation.
Yeah, I guess the point being, if you felt that the information you're receiving wasn't necessarily reliable or was questionable, then you went to the next step to, in this particular circumstance, but you're indicating that that was this one circumstance, and it's not one that you apply in every application. So I just want to highlight, I think there's some deficiencies in the process for these conversions. I would hope that there, and I think it's been suggested even at planning that there's a bit of a review going to be taking place. Hopefully we can strengthen some what I see as deficiencies in accountability and transparency in these applications so that we ensure that we're doing the best we can, one, to assist developers in regards to the conversions where it makes sense, but where it might be creating a greater challenge for tenants and renters in our community, we got to be cognizant of the broader social impact as a result of these decisions. So I just want to make sure we improve on the process. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for clarity, it wasn't staff that suggested that we go out and and check on the engagement or enhance the engagement. It was done through committee after receiving a delegation from Environment Hamilton. So I moved that motion. It wasn't staff. Staff had already recommended in favor back in June, and then again the second time round, which is before us today. Councillor Nan.
Sorry, so I am catching up in the history that's being shared here. So thank you for that. I just want to add the need to integrate a housing assessment and looking at the impact of converting rental apartment buildings into condominiums vis-a-vis our housing strategy and our commitment to affordability and ending homelessness. So excuse me for being a newbie, but however that needs to move forward as a recommendation to staff and integrating that in the reports. And thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson.
Councillor Nan's always stealing my thunder. Thank you very much. That I hope whatever wording comes out of that direction. I think at Planning Committee I expressed some concern that in this conversion practice we're not getting an overall picture of its impact on our overall rental stock and the affordability component of that. And I'm looking forward to our ability to ask for an inclusionary component within those condominium conversions, so in the form of that tool which the province has provided for us, the previous administration. And I hope that we can, when we assess these conversion applications, that we do so within a very rigorous citywide housing strategy. Thank you.
Second time, Councillor Whitehead.
There was a report that I had requested, and it came back. And one of the concerns that we haven't talked about is if the higher quality rentals are being converted, when we're looking at vacancies, what is the quality of those vacancies that are being left behind that's being counted in that number? I just don't want to lose sight of that. Thank you.
Item 9. Any opposed? Item 10. Item 11. Item 12. Okay, and item 10 as well? It's also a conversion? Okay. Can you note, Madam Clerk, for the record, that Councillor Nan is opposed to both item 9 and 10? Item 11, I believe we did, but for the record, 12, 13, 14, 15, item 16. Councillor Pearson, a motion please to approve the report as presented and to receive the information section.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. It's moved by myself, second by Councillor Brad Clark, that the 15th report of the Planning Committee be adopted as presented in the information section received.
All in favor? Any opposed? General Issues Committee presents Report 18-022, respectfully recommending item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, item 10, item 11, item 12, item 13, item 14. Councillor Danko on item 14?
Next item.
Okay. Item 14. Any opposed? Item 15, Councillor Danko.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just request to be recorded as opposed to item 15. Just coming into this, I'm seeing user fees on services that I consider to be a luxury not being increased, while service fees on more important, in my opinion, services such as recreation and transit being increased. So just record me as opposed on item 15.
Thank you. Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Just notice that there's been an amendment that's been added this morning, a change in a page, and we have to have that as item 15 as amended, 6.5, is that correct? Part of the report, as long as it's recognized, I'm not sure.
It was part of the changes, so we're okay with that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Wilson.
Like Councillor Danko, I'd like to be recorded as opposed. A 0% increase for some of these services while we're seeing seniors passes for HSR increase by 10%. I just find it hard to swallow, and I, in the future, would appreciate greater context for why some of these changes in fees or not changes in fees are being brought forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehead.
In planning, in the meeting, the staff had indicated that every report we look at increases, they take a look at a number of factors, one being how and where we are compared to other communities in regards to providing the user fees, whether it's on recreation or whatever. So, and we've had consultant studies come back and say we're amongst the lowest of all our comparators in the context of many of those services. And the other comparative was what the market would bear, because we certainly don't want a diminishing return in the context of revenue being generated. So I just want to highlight that there are factors that are evenly applied in the principle of what is happening in the market, if you want to characterize it. Thank you.
Thank you. With Councillor Danko and Councillor Wilson opposed, anyone else? All in favor? With the two opposed, it carries. Item 15, item 16, item 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, Mayor Eisenberger, you have an amendment to item 23, and item 23 is private and confidential until council approval, and I understand the council wishes to go into closed session to discuss this matter further. We're going to therefore move on to item 24, and we'll deal with the approval of item 23 and the General Issues Committee report following closed session. So we'll leave 23 and we'll go to 24. All in favor? On the central composting facility, Councillor Danko? Okay.
On item 24B, I'd like to be recorded as opposed on further review of that report and conversations with my colleagues around council. My opinion is that report should be made public.
Councillor Clark.
Same thing, item 24B, I wish to be recorded as opposed respectfully.
Your mic on, Clarky? Yeah, okay.
Sorry, you didn't hear me? Item 24B, I wish to respectfully be recorded as opposed.
Okay, there's 2 opposed. Councillor Marula.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just through you to Nicole, can you just give us a brief explanation as to why you've recommended, as our legal professional, that they remain confidential?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Marula. So there is, as I indicated, or as we discussed earlier, there are components of that report that are reflective of information that is subject to confidentiality agreements. So that is why it needs to be in camera. Council is entitled to get background information so that we can go in camera to discuss issues that are subject to solicitor-client privilege, litigation advice, and things that are required to be kept confidential under other agreements.
So I presume, in your opinion, through you, Mr. Chairman, if we were to make this public, then we would expose the taxpayers to liability, which would be deemed somewhat irresponsible. But would it not in any way subject the corporation of the City of Hamilton, and by extension the residents of the city, to potential liability financially?
Nicole?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. So certainly, Councillor, I always try to provide my advice. It's my recommendation that that information be kept confidential, but ultimately it is Council's decision.
But if we were to make it public, would we expose ourselves to liability? Potentially.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, certainly there are components of that report, yes, that would subject...
Thank you.
Councillor Clark, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to be clear, the report was written by Public Works. The recommendation to keep it confidential was from the city solicitor. Ultimately, the councillors have to make the decision as to whether or not that report should be remain confidential and should have gone in camera. Based on what was in the report, there was insufficient evidence in the report to conclude that it should have been an in-camera item.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehead.
Yeah, I think my concern is that I guess maybe it's for efficiency purposes, but we have this in-can stamp that basically stamps, the in-can rationale and reason to go on camera, but it doesn't always line up with the information report that we're receiving based on what we read. So it'd be nice when you make those recommendations that that there's something more directed in the context of the report that's in front of the council and why it needs to go on camera, because just having the in-can bang, for a contract or, that whole litany of things is very generic and it's not specific to that report that we're reading. And that gets confusing when you're trying to determine if it's rightly in camera or not. So all I'm asking is, can we improve on in-camera recommended reports and the rationale and why those independent reports are going in, as opposed to having something more macro in the explanation, more specific to the report that's before us. So I'm asking through the chair if that's possible.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, certainly we can look at improving the clarity in which the rationale for going in camera is provided to council. Certainly can do that.
Appreciate it. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we're not going to conclude Report 18-022, which is this General Issues Committee report before us, until after in camera, as noted with item 23 outstanding. And so we'll move on to Hamilton Renewable Power, the shareholder meeting there. That's Report 18-001, respectfully recommending item 1 and item 2. Mayor Eisen, carried. Thank you. Any opposed? Item 2, Mayor Eisenberger, may I please have a motion to approve the report as presented and receive the information section?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Partridge, that the first report of the Hamilton Renewable Power Inc. Shareholder Annual General Meeting be adopted as presented. Information section received.
All in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee, Report 18-014, respectfully recommending Item 1, Item 2, Item 3, 4, Item 5, 6, Item 7, Item 8, 9, Item 10, Item 11, Item 12, Item 13, 14, Item 15. Councillor Collins, you have an amendment to Item 16 to refer the item to the January 17th Audit, Finance, and Administrative Committee to provide the proponents with an opportunity to be a delegation with respect to this matter at the meeting. Is that correct, Councillor Collins?
I do, Mr. Chairman, and it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Marula that this matter be referred to the January 17, 2019 Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee to provide the proponent with an opportunity to be a delegation, with respect to this matter at that meeting.
All in favor? Oh, Councillor Ferguson on this item?
Yes, on the amendment, just through you if I can to Nicole. Nicole, we rushed this through to the Audit Administration Committee meeting. I think Tina burned the midnight oil in order to get the recommendation done, took it to the debate, and when we asked in committee, did the contractor wish to come in delegation, the answer was no. Reading this amendment, reading your email to me early this morning, it looks like they did submit a letter. What happened? The contractor wouldn't know that what committee to ask for. So did the letter get lost somewhere? Because we specifically asked about that at committee and we were told no.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. So I believe there was a couple of components. So certainly there was a number of emails that came into clerks that day on a variety of things. It normally does request that the specific date of the meeting be included in. They were aware that it was for the Monday meeting. It just happened to be a miscommunication, and certainly we do want to provide them an opportunity to be heard. So we're going to refer it back to the committee. We've spoken to staff, and we believe that can be accommodated.
Okay, because this is going to create a difficulty for some tenders that are out. And one in particular I've been tracking for years. We finally have it out to tender, which is the Ancaster Arts Centre. And we purposely put an addenda through to extend that by a month in order to get it to council today to avoid the risk. I won't go into what the risk is because I know that's in camera. Are we going to have to extend that again now?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I believe, I don't know if Rick is here, but certainly that was my understanding through staff that would be what they would do.
Okay. So you really think it's that big a risk, so we can't just go ahead and get this done today so we don't have to extend that tender again and maybe lose bidders?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, certainly we do have to provide them an opportunity to be heard, and it was an honest error that didn't take place, so it's my recommendation that we do put them back to the AFNA committee on January 17th.
Okay, because I'm going to have some explaining to do, as Ricky said, to my community on this. It delayed again, and it seems to be a common problem, whether it's Cormorant Road or whether it's now the Arts Centre. Do you have the new closing date? There's nobody here from purchasing, is there?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, no, but I can certainly make sure that information is provided to the councillor.
Okay, on the motion by Councillor Collins, all in favor? And certainly Councillor Ferguson is opposed. So Councillor Collins' motion now to approve the report is amended and receive the information section.
It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Marula, that the 14th report of the Audit and Finance Administration Committee be adopted as amended in the information section received.
All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? On to Healthy and Safe Communities, Report 18-010, respectfully recommending Item 1, 2, Item 3, 4, Item 5, 6, Item 7. On Item 7, Councillor Marula.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Item 7, if we could just amend this, Councillor Jackson did mention that he wanted to serve. I'm willing to step aside to allow him to serve. and we can go from there.
Councillor Jackson, will you confirm this?
Absolutely.
So we'll need a motion accordingly to amend that we replace A, S. Marula with B, with A, T. Jackson. Moved by Councillor Marula, seconded by Councillor Collins. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none. And now, as amended, item 7. Carried. Any opposed? Seeing none. 8, Tenant Defense Fund. 9. Tenant Defense Fund, Councillor Clark?
Yes, I supported this at the meeting. There were some questions about my conflict with regards to the HDAA, so I just wanted to read into the record that the letter from the Integrity Commissioner indicated on what housing matters are you restricted from participating or voting. In our view, because of the issue arises with respect to your formal role at the HDAA, whose specific objective was to prevent rental housing licensing in the City of Hammond, you would be restricted from participating or voting on the issue of rental housing licensing. So it was appropriate that I voted on this particular matter. Thank you.
Very good. Councillor Whitehead on item 8.
Thank you. I just want to highlight that we also requested, and I think staff will bring back a report, to take a look at, well, it's a notice of motion, but I'm sorry, I'll let the council know, to take a look at, because it was part of the delegations on the licensing piece, the lack of staffing, sheriffs, I guess adjudicators for the tribunal as it pertains to the timeliness of the hearings and that in the City of Hamilton. So staff will be looking at that, and we'll have an information report coming forward that we may wish to act on. I just want to highlight that. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Ferguson once more.
Just typically, well, it's my first time. Typically
first time. Go ahead.
Typically, when we allocate something like $50,000, you give an account, and there's no account here. Is that because it's reporting back?
To the mover?
There was anticipated over $2 million a year in surplus in housing services, so this would be funded from the variance. That'll be reported back in the spring, but safe to say with the $50,000 request and the estimated $2 million that those funds will be there in April when staff reports back.
Okay, so we don't need to put it in the motion today through you to Councillor Collins?
This time I would anticipate when the terms of reference come back, staff can be very specific in terms of the account, but it is a good catch.
And a great initiative, Councillor, from yourself. Item 8. Any opposed? Item 9. Councillor Marula, a motion please to approve the report as presented and receive the information section.
I'll second by Councillor Collins that we move the report and receive it as amended.
All in favor? They're drowned out by the carolers there, but we know what you were. Councillor Whitehead, we're looking for your motion, I believe, at this time. Madam Clerk, help me if I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, this is to waive the 48-hour notice to present Standing Committee report for General Issues Committee. Oh, I need to get you, there you go.
You just stated it. Basically, it's to waive the section 5.62 of the City Procedural Bylaw 14-300, which provides the minimum 48 hours shall pass before a standing committee report is presented to council be waived in order to consider the General Issues Committee report 18023 dated Tuesday, December 18th.
Do you have a seconder?
Second by Councillor Partridge.
Okay, on this, all in favor?
Carried.
Any opposed? So we're on to General Issues Committee. And that is 18-023, respectfully recommending. Item 1. On item 1, Councillor Johnson is first on my queue. Brenda Johnson.
Thank you. That's not it.
This is dispensaries for recreational cannabis retail sale, our lone item for the special meeting yesterday.
Okay, thank you. My apologies for not being here yesterday. I had a lot of personal issues to deal with, and it's been cleared up. So when I read number 1, I'm completely confused. So if you can just help me through this, I don't know who can help me through this motion. So just for clarification, 1B, it says both the report respecting cannabis provincial legislation and the motion respecting opting out of dispensaries for recreation cannabis retail sale, which reads as follows, be put on the website with a poll to ask. Then it goes on, therefore let it be resolved that we're not to be permitted, B, will not permit, C goes into this funding thing, and then we get down to, we're asking the mayor to write the Premier of Ontario for conditions. So are we in or are we out? I don't understand what the decision's made here. I don't know what to expect on January the 14th. So if you can help me with this, and I apologize again for not being here, I would just like some clarity. I did listen to some of the meeting, and it confused me even more. So can I just get some clarity, please? What does this motion do? And what are we expected to do at the end of it? Anybody help?
I think I'll turn to General Manager Thorne first for the Coles Note version or the summation of what was an 8-hour meeting, and it's totally understandable. I was hoping to catch some of it online, but we don't have our recordings of meetings until about 24 hours or 48 later. So GM Thorne, summation or an answer anyway to the good councillor's question.
Mr. Thorne, please explain number 1 to me.
Yeah, so through the chair, the effect of this motion would be the decision on whether or not to opt in or opt out, which is all the whereases and everything under B. That is referred to the January 14th meeting, but there was direction provided as well, which was for staff to initiate a consultation process through an online survey. That would begin immediately. Our goal would be to get, if this is passed, we would get that hopefully up on the website prior to the Christmas shutdown. But that's essentially what's in front of you. So this defers the decision on whether or not to opt in or opt out to that special council meeting of the 14th and directs us to initiate right away the online survey to seek public feedback.
Okay, but then I need to ask, why is A and B, and therefore let it be resolved that we will not permit it, when you're saying right now is we're deferring the decision to January 14th? Why is that in the, I know you didn't make up the motion, sir, but I'm just asking, what does the staff interpret this to be?
So through the chair, the motion that was on the table at the time was to opt out, as well as to include those conditions that the city would seek from the province. That was the motion that was referred. So yesterday, the staff recommendation to opt in was defeated, and a motion was tabled to opt out, and that was referred to the 14th of January.
Thank you, that's helpful. So A and B is to say we're not, this is deferred, by the way, right? So A and B says we're not going to permit it, and then it continues on to say, but we want to know more about the funding, and we want to know, we want to impose more conditions. So we're opting out, but we want conditions. So that's where the confusion for me lies. I don't know if that's you as well, or if you can clarify for me.
No, so through the chair, I think we're fairly clear on the staff end of what we have to do, and it's right. I didn't mention the funding issue. The other piece that we would have to provide and bring back with that January 14th meeting is related to item A, which was some of the costs from the Police Services Board. So if this is passed, the decision to, the motion to opt out comes forward on January the 14th, and there are 2 items of information that we as staff have been asked to bring forward. One is around the police budgeting, and the second is the results of the online survey.
And thank you for that. I appreciate it. So just through your Deputy Mayor to the clerk, this was dealt with at GIC. My understanding is it's still the property of the GIC. Does it go back to a GIC now? And why does it go directly to council when we don't have, it's not part of the GIC?
The plan from the beginning was that the recommendation from the meeting yesterday was to go to a special council meeting on January 14th.
Okay.
So yesterday, when the decision was made to refer it to get more information from the Hamilton Police Service, and to put the actual report, the motion for the public's consideration on the website, it's all being, all the report backs would be to council on January 14th.
So it's going to be through you, sir, to Janet. So it's going to be another special council meeting or a regular council meeting?
It's now a special council
meeting.
Yes,
so
it was scheduled at the same time as the December 18th GIC. There was a special council.
So because it's a council meeting, we're not going to have presenters. We're not going to, but can staff still present their findings, or is it just something we're going to have to do all our homework on our own when this information comes in, and then we get to this special council meeting, and then we make our decision at the council meeting?
Staff will be reporting back through a report.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Good questions, and we probably deserved a summation. Councillor Clark is next.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So I would like to propose an amendment that there also be a report back on the projected economic uplift if we proceeded with retail stores in the municipality.
That is seconded by Councillor Whitehead on that amendment. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none. And that's it for you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Danko, finally.
Just want to reiterate my position that I think the provincial regulations are not favorable to the City of Hamilton or to any municipalities, but I'm happy to defer this to January the 14th. We can all hope that the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future might visit the Premier over the holidays, and we might face some more favorable regulations in the new year.
Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, and I was here for the entire day, except for I think the last half hour due to a personal emergency that I think most of you are aware of with my father. But I am opposed. I think we should opt out, and I'm not looking to resurrect a whole debate that we had. We spent many hours here, but at the appropriate time, I want to be recorded as opposed, please.
Councillor Nan.
Thank you. And I too was here for the majority of the session yesterday and had to leave for emergency with my daughter in the last portion before the vote. And I'm in favor of opting in and looking forward to the discussion on January 14th to finalize our decision.
On the item as amended, all in favor? Any opposed? Councillor Partridge recorded as opposed. And I believe that Councillor Collins is opposed to... Sorry, can you indicate Councillor Collins? Councillor Collins is opposed to the referral. Okay, so I have already recorded a vote of only one opposed, and that's Councillor Partridge on what's before us as amended. On the referral, which this is the only item before us. Right. Right. All in favor, the standing recorded vote. Yes, no, please ask. Councillor Pauls. Okay, hold on. Councillor Pauls. I pressed it. I don't know what's going on. Okay.
Like I said yesterday, this is very serious matter that we're going into. And my opinion was that if we had at least a couple of weeks to think about it, I could make a better understanding. That's to look at it at a different glance, let's say. So are we voting to in or out, or are we voting to wait till the 14th? Because if it's today, I will vote out for sure.
Okay, we're voting on a referral that includes in the referral motion to refer it to a special council meeting on January 14th, that you were part of that motion yesterday, and it's included with 3 amendments. One, that staff get back to us on true costs from Hamilton Police Services and Planning. 2, that between now and then, let's hear what the community has to say and do an online poll through our very popular Hamilton.ca website. And then the recent amendment from Councillor Clark, Councillor Clark, would you mind just sort of sharing, because that may have caused a bit of confusion, but it's a last minute but a good request. So Councillor Clark, your third and final amendment, which is what we're also voting on, Councillor Pauls.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just asking...
This is the third amendment. We've already voted in favor of. Councillor Clark?
Thank you. I asked staff to report back to us on the economic uplift if we proceed with allowing the retail operations in Hamilton. So what the increase in tax base would be.
So that's what we're voting on. You still have the mic.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So a standing recorded vote on all of the above has been requested. So all in... Just on the deferral piece? Okay, yeah, please help me out, Clerk Pylon.
The referral is item 1 of the GIC report.
Which is the whole thing.
Which is the whole thing.
So, all right, thank you. And do councillors reserve the right to separate parts of item 1?
I don't believe it can be split because it's a referral to January 14th. The items that are being asked for in the meantime could be voted on so that it's possible that A may be defeated and we don't ask the Hamilton Police Service. So the A and B could be split, but the referral everything's being referred to January 14th.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Pauls. Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, the resolution was changed quite significantly from the motion that was put in our package yesterday from Councillor Marula, and so all these therefore be resolved are all done on the fly yesterday. One I see is missing here, and so I will now support the deferral to understand why, is the issue that the funding from the province is inadequate to cover our cost. And I don't see that in here, and so I'd like to see that added for the next meeting to have an opportunity to talk to Councillor Marula why he excluded that, and because that was the main part of his motion that was in front of us yesterday. So I will support the deferral right now.
I believe the mover would like to respond to why that was amended. Councillor Marula.
We simply based it on the staff report, which I took it verbatim. That was going to be the next phase, and I'm more than willing to do that right now to accommodate that request, to incorporate that component, if you like.
Did you turn it off? Okay, back on, Councillor.
What I'd like to incorporate exactly what the motion was there yesterday.
Yeah, so be it. And so we'll do that.
We can do that also on the 16th, or what?
14th.
14th. We can do that. I'd like to talk to you offline about it if I can. So I think the easiest thing to do is support the deferral now and debate this next meeting and understand why that part of the resolution isn't back in here. Okay. And if you're prepared to amend it now, that would make it easier for me to have a conversation.
I'm prepared to do it. If you want to second it and include it, I'm fine with it.
So what Councillor Marula is suggesting we do is, there was the motion he had presented to us yesterday was that the main reason we're voting opt-out is that there wasn't adequate funding coming to the province to cover our costs, excluding police. And Mr. Thorne said we'll run out of money in 18 months and for the 2-year program and nothing after that. And so we need additional funding, and we're going to opt out because we can never opt out once we're in.
That's right.
If we're out, we can opt in later if we can get this sorted out. And so I see that part's missing is inadequate funding from the province.
So, Madam Clerk, could you, based on yesterday's motion, incorporate that component through you, Mr. Chair?
Hold on. Councillor Ferguson still had the floor. He's asking, you didn't say specifically, but he's asking to the original mover of the motion. The original mover has responded accordingly. And if you have a point of order other than what has just transpired, okay. Councillor Whitehead, what is your point of order? There's too many mics on. I'll turn mine off.
Whereas don't mean
Can't hear this point of order.
All I'm suggesting, Mr. Chair, is that it's rightly so to get clarification by the mover of the motion, so I have no issue with that. But you can't start on the fly on a clarification, amending a motion or moving a motion forward when you have a speakers list. The point of order is the fact that Councillor Marula generously offered up to address that issue, and his time will come to do that, but you can't do that in advance of because that was a point of clarification.
Yeah, fair enough.
Advance of the speakers list.
Fair enough. He could have done it at the appropriate time. Well, yeah, you want to confirm that, please? Fair enough. Clerk Pylon, please. I thought I heard them say they were going to deal with this offline between now and the 14th, but...
That's what I had heard as well, that they were going to discuss it after
okay.
meeting. Okay, and then Councillor Marula was prepared to amend the motion that he put forward yesterday at GIC to include his therefore be resolved from 11.1 that was dealt with, which he completely changed at the meeting. So is there an amendment coming forward, or are they going to be talking offline?
Councillor Ferguson, can you indicate?
Okay, so what the amendment that I believe is being requested is that the City of Hamilton opt out of providing a dispensary for, okay, so that's until a sustainable revenue sharing formula is established between the Province of Ontario and the City of Hamilton. A condition for that sustainable revenue sharing is what is being requested.
Councillor Ferguson, did you say?
And so procedurally, if we can put that back in right now, then there's no need to defer it, in my view. But
so I need to know.
Then we'll defer.
Okay, we need to know for the record exactly the wording, and you can speak to the wording you're requesting verbatim first, and then if so desired, we could move an amendment at the appropriate time. So what exactly is the wording you wish to amend?
The wording that
include today.
Just read out.
Okay, no, she didn't. She stopped halfway.
No, she didn't.
Okay, can I, for my own edification, then please hear verbatim what the wording is for the amendment that may be coming forward? Exactly.
The same as the motion from that was 11.1 in the agenda yesterday, that the City of Hamilton opt out of providing dispensaries for recreational cannabis retail sale until a sustainable revenue sharing formula is established between the Province of Ontario and the City of Hamilton.
Okay, so that's, all right.
That's it.
Yeah, you didn't, you turned yourself off, but you are next. Councillor Ferguson.
Well, I'll let Councillor Marula move the amendment because it was his motion. I'd be happy to second that amendment.
So I'm clear, okay, I'll put myself on the speaker's list at the appropriate time. Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you, and I think it's certainly right when whoever wants to move that motion at the appropriate time to move it, so I don't have a problem with that. The issue for me, though, is we're getting into the debate again, and I thought we were trying to avoid that. And to say that it's unaffordable, that hasn't been proven. In fact, what came out of the committee meeting, if anyone was listening, was we're folding in the cost of legalization of marijuana on a debate on whether we should opt in or opt out. We are asking now to narrow whatever the cost implications are just on opting in for marijuana. So the problem is that it was pretty clear and the police acknowledged. In fact, they even said it was nominal. In fact, it might be argued that based on the current we already will be receiving enough money to make the adjustment on any cost directly associated with opting in. But as far as illegal dispensaries, which is part of the whole issue around legalization of marijuana, it's got nothing to do with opting in or opting out. And the problem is that, and I'm not going to get into the debate about the revenue we lose that could offset those costs, but the reality is that to say that we're not meeting enough, or getting enough money on this particular opting in is not true. We don't know that, and that's why we're going to January 14th to get those numbers. So I guess my problem is until we know what those numbers are, how can you make that statement? Because staff did acknowledge that we're conflating two issues. So could I get some clarification from staff if that was their understanding?
So through the chair, yes, I think that's largely accurate. What the report had stated was that the costs, or the funding, the confirmed funding, which is really only that one initial funding of $574,000, is insufficient to cover the cost of legalization in both an opt-in and opt-out scenario. So that was a recognition that there are costs, whether the city opts in or opts out, there are costs in both scenarios, and that the confirmed provincial funding isn't sufficient. And I think as the police services had noted yesterday as well, there are a number of costs that they are facing either way. And the direction coming out of the meeting yesterday, which I think is part A of this motion, is for police services to break those costs down and bring them back, if this is deferred to January 14th, to bring back to that meeting a breakdown of those costs that are directly related to the opt-in, opt-out decision, or that are just costs that we're going to face as a result of legalization, regardless of what council decides on opt-in, opt-out.
I think probably an interesting way to approach it is what's the differential in cost if we, on the legalization versus just opting in. And staff had also indicated that, certainly from the city staff point of view, from bylaw point of view, that the need for the cost that impacts them would probably phase out within the 2 years, within the time frame that funding is being identified by the province. So the problem is matching up the report, the financing and opting in, and police impacts, and aligning those actual costs to determine whether or not we would be receiving enough or not receiving enough. And the problem is that we haven't broken it down that way, and we haven't considered that some of them are legacy costs that has nothing to do with the opting in. We haven't considered that part of the costs identified by staff is only for the 2 years. And even police said that their cost in some regard would go down as well, even on the broader picture. So well, I didn't bring this up. No, but I didn't bring up this. I thought we were just going to move it to January 14th, wait for the reports. Councillor Ferguson brought up this issue. Now it's brought up the whole debate on whether or not we can verify that for opting in, we're not going to receive sufficient money to cover the cost. And I think that's the debatable part. We've asked staff to bring a report back, and that's why the 14th was picked. Thank you.
So do we have an amendment on the floor? And exactly where does that amendment go?
I believe so. Okay.
Well, either we do or we don't.
Okay, to add the sustainable...
And that goes into the portion after therefore be it resolved, so it'll be another item.
I believe it fits because the beginning of the motion from yesterday is that the City of Hamilton opt out of providing dispensaries for recreational cannabis retail sale until, okay, here we've got in A that cannabis retail stores not be permitted to operate in the City of Hamilton in accordance with the Cannabis License Act 2018. We can add until a sustainable revenue sharing formula is established between the province of Ontario and the City of Hamilton.
Okay, thank you.
Would be the amendment, right, Councillor Marula?
Which is an amended item A in the after therefore be it resolved. Okay, now that's clear. Thank you. And I'm hoping that we don't get into another long, protracted debate. We can do that, but I mean, if we're going to go down the road of shooting this down and not deferring it, then we are going to have a long debate. So I'm hoping that that with that inclusion and that additional information to come for us, as well as the economic impact, all very important information actually before we actually make a decision. Should really be before us before we actually make a final determination, and in my view shouldn't happen today. So I'm not going to prolong this. I don't want to get into a great debate, but I do want to ensure that we have some time that others have asked for to poll our community and to get some additional information that I think is going to be very important for our decision making. So hopefully we get there.
I have myself on the speakers list, so I'll ask you, Mr. Mayor, to take the chair. Thank you. To the clerk, I apologize. Is the motion on the floor because we got a point of order and it did sort of get jumped in there off the normal routine?
The amendment is on the floor.
It is on the floor. Okay, very good. So to the amendment, and my recollection, having been part of the 8-hour marathon from start to finish yesterday, was that the mover took the word sustainable out of the motion because the sentence read, not verbatim, but very close to it, until a sustainable revenue source was presented. So I asked the question to the mover, what does that mean? What is sustainable? What are the factors involved in the pro forma that's needed to measure all of that? And the outcome of the conversation, I won't get into the back and forth, was that it was removed. I have no issue keeping it or adding it to A, speaking now to the amendment on the floor, understanding that we'll have an opportunity with the amendments that are now part of the motion here today to address and maybe answer that question as best we can anyway, by getting more information, which is what most of us want to do. And we do have time to do it. January 14th is 6 days before our deadline of the 22nd to get back. So I'm okay with it now that I better understand what's before us. I was just a little thrown at the order of things, and I thought an appropriate point of order from Councillor Whitehead. So to that end, I'm okay adding it, as you suggested, Councillor Clerk Pylon, on page 2 of 11, Part A, to put back those words into this motion that's before us. And with that, I will take the chair back, Mr. Mayor, and we have first-time speaker. A point of order once again, that's fine, Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you. And actually, I'm trying to be helpful with this point of order. The reality is the council, and you can look at the procedure bylaw, it's pretty clear. Councilor Miller could not, as a point of clarification to the question, move the motion from the floor. One, because the speaker list, and two, because actually Councillor Ferguson had the floor. But as I understand with the procedure bylaw, there's no rule speaking and then moving a motion. So in fact, Councillor Ferguson could have moved the motion from the floor when he had the floor, and then it could be seconded by Councillor Marula. So I just want to make sure that we follow our procedures.
Thank you. First,
Sorry.
Councillor Nan? No? First time, no, we're on to second time speakers. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So the terminology sustainable, I'm interpreting it, and I'm looking to Councillor Marula for assistance, as basically acceptable to the City of Hamilton.
Ideally, the goal is for it to be cost neutral, as I've said from day one. So that's what sustainability to me means. Okay. We'll allow staff to determine in their expert view what that actually means.
Thank you. I'll support the amendment, and then if you can come back to me, I have one more amendment.
We'll come back in a moment. Councillor Clark with one more additional amendment, and then, but first, Councillor Pauls.
Saying that I'm not only concerned about economic impact, I am concerned about that. I want to make sure the city does well. But that is not my only concern. My only concern is that I serve my constituents, right? I want to talk to them. I want as well to make sure the survey's done well. And I might talk about other issues that I'm concerned about. So yes, economics is important. I agree with that. We need money in the city, but that's not my only concern. So I need time to talk to my constituent. I need time to figure it out, and then I could make my decision on the 14th. And that's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Back to you, Councillor Clark. Indicate. No. Oh, I do. Sorry, on the amendment. All in favor? Who's opposed? Did I? Something on the amendment?
So I'm prepared to defer it. Yesterday I didn't, but honestly, just so that we don't create a circus here today, I'm going to support the deferral to the 14th in order to try to be amicable here. And Merry Christmas and season's greetings. So just so we don't continue pressing our buttons here and allow Terry to continue creating a circus. So anyway, that's the important. So you have the votes now. So let's just move this thing forward. So I'll call we call the question. Seconded by Councillor.
Call the question.
Call the question.
All in favor?
Oh, sorry, add the amendment. That's fine. I accepted it as friendly.
Great. We still need to vote on the amendment to add this addition to Part 8. We did not. No, he jumped in before the vote. I'm going to, for posterity, all in favor once again. Carry. Opposed on the amendment that adds the word sustainable, so on, so on, so. Now, on the motion, with the one amendment we just added, we may not have another, and I go to you, Councillor Clark.
Thank you. So I'd like to propose an amendment that staff report back to us on the second phase of funding based on the number of municipalities that have opted out, and if Hamilton opts in, what would our share of funding be?
Excellent. Very good. Secondary by Councillor Whitehead. All in favor? Or does anybody want to speak to that? I have a speakers list. Okay, so Councillor Partridge, you would be next. And is it to what we've just heard? Okay. Is it the overall amendment? I'm going to... Yeah, for sure, no problem. So next is, Esther Pauls, you are indicating for some reason here, but can you just hit the X on the bottom right? That brings Councillor Marula back on that amendment that we just heard from Councillor Clark. I've just pressed...
Call the question. On the amendment, I support it. I want to bring forward a motion to call the question.
Okay, you brought a motion to call the question on the amendment.
On everything.
And we went right to it and
Let's close the file on this until the 14th.
Now you want to call the question.
That's right.
But we still have a motion that Councillor Clark...
I support that. So all in favor? I support it. Yeah.
I haven't done that yet. I appreciate that. So the seconder for that fourth amendment was Councillor Whitehead. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none. That carries. Now, on the motion with all the amendments, you got the fourth one. 4 amendments. There's 4. Councillor Clark added a 4th just now. On the main motion with all the amendments, Councillor Partridge.
No, this is after this. I just have a question about the date, but it's not part of the vote. Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. Sorry. All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? Councillor Collins recorded as opposed. Councillor Partridge now recorded as opposed. It carried. Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to confirm on the date of January the 14th, we have our special council meeting is at 4 p.m. Is that correct? Because I've got Board of Health at 1:30.
It's immediately following the Board of Health meeting.
Okay. All right, so not necessarily 4 o'clock. It all depends on how long the Board of Health goes? Okay, thank you. I just wanted to confirm that.
And I think that's it for me, Mr. Mayor. You assume the chair. A lot of fun up here. Oh, yes, Mayor. Yeah, right. The formality is on that report with the one item. Mayor Eisenberger, a motion to approve the report as presented and amended and receive the information section.
Nice. Is that Sam Marula? Sam, is this your signature right here?
Yes, it is.
An S with the line? Okay, just want to verify. Thank you.
All in favor?
Hang on. I haven't moved the motion yet. Sorry, you were saying what? Good thought. But now that I know, it's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Marula, that the 23rd report of the General Issues Committee be adopted as presented in the information section received.
All in favor?
Carried.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you.
Councillor, take your binder. Okay, members of motion, we are on motions. Councillor Marula. Relief? Sorry? We don't rise and report because we've got other issues that we still have to deal with to close out the committee reports. So Councillor Marula, you have a motion regarding basement flooding for water main breaks.
And it's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Collins, and this is our residential municipal relief assistance program. And if you can recall, in October, we had a water main breakdown off of on Grace, off of Woodward Avenue. The residents have been waiting quite some time for this approval because we couldn't get quorum during the election period. So that's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Collins.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Farr, you have a motion respecting the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Board of Directors.
By Councillor Nan. It's there. The whereas is therefore be it resolved that Council of the City of Hamilton endorse Councillor Judy Partridge to stand for election on FCM's Board of Directors for the period starting January 2019, ending June. That shouldn't be 2019. I think it should be 2022, if I'm not mistaken. until the end of the FCM annual general meeting in Quebec City, June 2nd, 2019. My error, it is June 2019. B, that council assumes all costs associated with Councillor Judy Partridge attending FCM's conference and board of directors meetings be charged to the general legislative account, which is before you. And I will very briefly speak to it. I can't think of it, having spent the last and honored to represent council at FCM over the last term of council, I can't think of a better representative for council on a federal level to represent us, and I know she'll represent us well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moved by yourself, second by Councillor Nan. Councillor Whitehead.
Letter of correspondence from FCM that identified today. Right now, they're looking for 3 councillors that they would appoint because of vacancies. So I think it's great, and I can't argue that we got a great representative to go to FCM. I was elected on that board 3 years in a row. There's an actual opportunity to fill a vacancy without running. So I'm not sure if it's the desire of Councillor Partridge to get on the actual board, but there is, and I would supplement that request by submitting her name to fill that vacancy, if she accepts.
Okay, yes. Thank you, and I think that's
Ontario. That's the Ontario seat.
She will do once she's on the board, right? Put her name forward as a desire to be on the vacancy. Right. Okay. So, all in favor? Carried. Any opposed? None. Thank you. Councillor Pierce on the motion on the voters list for the municipal election.
Mr. Mayor, and everyone has it before them. Item 7.3 is moved by myself, second by Councillor Tom Jackson, maintaining voters list for municipal elections. Whereas concerns over the quality of the municipal voters list is not a new phenomenon. Whereas in 2012, the Association of Municipal Managers, Clerks and Treasurers of Ontario, AMCTO, published a voters list position paper, and since that time has been advocating for transformational changes to the way that Ontario creates and maintains the voters list for municipal elections. Whereas the preliminary list of electors, which forms the voters list in Ontario, is supplied by data from the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation, MPAC, and whereas despite the incremental changes made by MPAC has a limited ability to fix the currency and accuracy issues that impairs the current process, and the voters list continues to be flawed with data inaccuracies and outdated information. And whereas a transformational solution to the way that voters list is created and managed is required. Therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the City of Hamilton supports the re-establishment of the multi-stakeholder working group between the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, Ministry of Finance, AMCTO, MPAC, Elections Canada, Elections Ontario, and exploring and identifying ways to create and maintain the voters list for municipal elections. That Council requests an update be provided from this voters list working group on the transformational solutions being discussed, and that representatives from MPAC be invited to a future General Issues Committee meeting to hear the City of Hamilton's concerns and advise the City on what steps MPAC will be taking in the future. And if I can speak to it, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Thank you, and appreciate the support. Certainly some colleagues responded when I was communicating with the clerk, and I do want to also thank the town of Kearney, because they triggered me on making sure that we move this forward. I don't know what everyone around the council table, but I know at election time, especially at the advanced polls, the voters list was horrendous. And I think we went through this in 2014, we went through this in 2010, I think it's been since 2003 since I was elected. And it gets worse every election. And it shouldn't be. We have the technology today, there should be better ways. And we also pay a lot of money to MPAC for records. And it seems like we're getting less and less and less from them. But it's paramount that the voters list be accurate and correct, because voters are turning away. I had voters walking away because saying, I'm not waiting this long. I've already put in a correction form to remove my grandfather who was on that list 20 years ago and is still on the list. And it's frustrating. I mean, I can tell you so many situations that happened because I sat in on all 5 advanced polls in Ward 10. And, you know, it's very disappointing. Residents are trying to do the right thing. We want to support, you know, increased resident voter turnout. This is certainly deflating it. And I sympathize with the residents. When I've had residents waiting 40 minutes just to complete a form, they don't have that kind of time a day. They just want to mark their X and walk out the door. And, you know, this is totally flawed. I think we've come to the end of the line of having to accept what they give us every election, and we need to put their feet to the fire and have this corrected. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good points, and I think we all agree. I think we've all seen those issues and those problems, and they need to fix them. We have an extended speakers list, so Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and I want to thank so much Councillor Pearson for putting a pen to paper and putting this motion in place. I concur with all the examples she's given. I suppose on the one hand, we should technically celebrate the fact that our turnout citywide went from 34 to 38%, as pitiful as that still is, compared to the typical high 50s, 60s that federal and provincial turnouts get. But I would suspect, Mr. Mayor, that probably had more to do with one or two particular races and just maybe some more interest from that standpoint that was generated through the media. So, Mr. Mayor, in the past elections, post-election analysis assessments, I have given my concerns. I have given examples to our elections office, which, by the way, I want to put in a plug for our elections office. They're hamstrung to some degree. They're, in my opinion, doing their professional best, but they are hamstrung to some degree in terms of authority that's been taken out of their hands quite a while ago in terms of everything being within the records of MPAC, the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation. And that's where in my opinion, where the huge issues lie. So, Mr. Mayor, in past elections, post-assessments, I have verbally expressed, I've handed over concerns, and a few months afterwards, our elections office have, as council's directed, given all these concerns over to MPAC. And then somewhere along the way, Mr. Mayor, 4 years go by, and we have the same issues all over again, or some new ones added on that do not make it appealing or cause enormous frustration for our electorate and our citizenry. Now, you can talk about all the newest stuff and potential, novel ideas of online and rank balloting and all the different scenarios that are a whole different subject. But if we are discouraging and we're not even given proper incentive and opportunities to people who want to vote, who regularly vote, and or are frustrated because of voter cards that they never got, family members that aren't on the list, they have to every election fill out a voter's amended form to get on the list, and somehow that didn't transfer over to the following election where they should have then automatically been on the list. It's actually insulting, Mr. Mayor, to people who want to vote. Forget about even trying to encourage the turnout to become higher, which I want. I'd love to see the municipal turnouts to be in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Absolutely. Win or lose, I want more people to come out and vote. But if for even people who have the desire to vote, forget about people potentially new or first-timers that can vote, or those who have just turned 18 that want to vote, if those who want to vote are being so frustrated by they don't get a voter's card, their family members are left off the list, a loved one has passed on years ago and still shows up on the voters list, it's absolutely insulting. And I will no longer stand for just handing things over to MPAC, because there's a vacuum there between the post-election analysis and information reports and the next election forthcoming. There's a huge gap and vacuum. There's really no response or follow-up by MPAC. And Mr. Mayor, this invitation to MPAC, I've heard the bureaucrats from MPAC come in before, and they'll take maybe a couple of hours, and eventually I've looked around this table where people pretty well are just confined to the fact that, gee, we understand that explanation. Well, that really does, I guess it's really our fault for even bothering MPAC. I'm not going to put up with that anymore, Mr. Mayor. If there needs to be an all-players type of meeting around a board table of MPAC reps, our own city reps, political reps, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, under which the Municipal Elections Act falls, that has to be done to correct some of these ridiculous, outstanding issues that just are a disincentive to people who want to vote, Mr. Mayor. So I am not going to put up any more with 4 years from now, whoever's here, whoever runs and is successful, I won't put up any more with the same outstanding, lingering issues that we have begged and pleaded in the past before to be corrected and really haven't been at all. And if we have to go back to a traditional, old-fashioned enumeration, when we stopped that and handed everything to MPAC, it just seemed that after that, all these additional problems occurred. That's my opinion. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, and just over 5 minutes, so I appreciate that. Your timing was impeccable. Councillor Clark.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Pearson briefed me earlier with regards to her concerns, and then I had spoken to a number of our colleagues. Over the last week, I looked at other municipalities across the province, and this is not just a Hamilton issue. It seems to be an issue right across the province of Ontario. When I tried to figure out where the legislation stood and why MPAC isn't moving forward, there's a real disconnect because we're operating under the Municipal Elections Act, but MPAC is operating under the Assessment Act, which really has nothing to do with the Municipal Election Act. So they've been given their authority there, and they're supposed to be enumerating, but I can't find anywhere where that enumerations are actually happening. So a long-winded preamble, but I would suggest to Councillor Pearson and to my colleagues that we add a section D, and it would be a letter of concern, that the City of Hamilton file a letter of concern and a request for investigation by the Ontario Ombudsman, and share that with other municipalities. My understanding, this has been going on for 15 years. Concerns keep happening, and there is no change. There's no rectification of the issues. Perhaps it's time that we just raise it up to a higher level and ask other municipalities to also file their concerns with the Ombudsman and ask for that investigation, and perhaps we'll get some results that way.
Okay, thank you. You might also recommend that we share this this motion with all municipalities. I think in the same way, I think that would certainly inspire them to bring their concerns forward as well. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, and I appreciate Councillor Pearson bringing forward this again. When I first read it, and Councillor Pearson is a very nice person, and so it looked too nice. And I would have been a lot firmer. Get it done, period. I'm tired of our own staff coming in and telling us, well, it's MPAC. MPAC coming in doing the dance, well, yeah, we're going to fix it, but it never gets fixed. And so my resolution would simply be direct staff to get it right, get it done. But if Councillor Clark wants to move his motion about getting the Ombudsman involved because we're stuck in the mud in this thing, we're not going anywhere, I'd be happy to second that amendment. Thank you.
Okay, I think that was added as a friendly amendment, so I think she's got some wording. She'll read it out for us shortly. Councillor Wilson.
I'm happy to support the motion. I've been living in the same residence for 13 years and I didn't receive a voting card this year, even though my name was on the ballot. But I do believe that there is a much bigger issue here that is immediately within our grasp if we're serious about voting and the ability to exercise our franchise. We talk a lot about our engagement strategy, and at the appropriate time, I hope to bring forward a motion which will commit this city to looking at what is within our grasp and how we can increase our voter turnout. I don't think we should be satisfied with 36, 33, 35% voter turnout. If we're putting money into an engagement strategy, certainly one of our guiding principles should be how do we better engage our citizens so that they understand the importance of the vote and that we make it as easy as possible for them to vote. So it certainly is within our grasp to talk about where our polling stations are, is it not? It certainly is within our grasp to talk about the promotion of an election and how people can vote and where they can vote all out. It certainly is within our grasp to try and understand who is voting and who is not voting and why they may not be voting. So yes, let's talk about the role of MPAC, but let's talk about the need to lead from this city if we believe that exercising the franchise is fundamental to what we do, and I would submit that it is absolutely the core of what we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to be clear, that's not what the direction of the motion is. It's all about MPAC and the voters list. So we can have that broader debate, and I think we will have. You know, our elections office will be reporting to this council in terms of this election, and I think there's lots of discussion to be had about how do we get the voter turnout up, and I think that's an important topic for sure. Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you, and it's ironic that I have two children that are now adults and haven't lived in my home for the last 2.5, 3 years, and I'm getting a card with their names still as voters. I have a neighbor that comes across the street. Her husband died 3 years ago, and she gets a voter card, which helped, you know, unfortunately she relived the fact of the loss, but her dead husband is on the voters list. So I'm not clear how many dead voters are actually on the voters list, but there has to be something done to better reflect the voters in this community. And just on the higher level, I wouldn't mind when we get that report back. We know that there was some experimentation with ranked balloting in London, and I believe internet balloting, I don't know if it was in Burlington, because a lot of people would argue that you get a higher level of turnout. My understanding that's not the case, and there was all kinds of issues in both communities, and I think we need to understand that. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Councillor Vanderbeek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I definitely am going to support this motion, and I thank Councillors Pearson and Jackson for bringing it forward. I have had no end of complaints in my ward, though my ward did have, I think it was 44% turnout, in spite of the fact that many people did not get a voter's card. Some people were told at the poll that they weren't in Ward 13, that they were to go and vote in Ward 12. It wasn't true. Their house is in Ward 13. They should have been voting there. They'd voted there for many years. Some of them walked away. Some of them phoned me. I went up and they were allowed, some of the people who phoned me and I went to the poll with them were allowed to vote because they had to fill out a form, but they had to wait in a line. And it goes on and on and on. And yes, I have lots of phone calls and emails about people who were not on the list, but someone they know in their family who had passed away was still there. So we have a huge issue, and I agree that it is not just a Hamilton issue. It's not our staff, but it is incumbent on us to start complaining now so that by the time 3 years are up and they're coming up with the new electors list, at that point, that things have turned around and are corrected. So I definitely will be supporting this motion and promoting whatever it is that I can do to help in any way to make things happen so that we don't run into this election after election. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Councillor Pearson, did you want to add the amendment or the friendly amendment, just so we're all clear on the... Okay.
That letter of concerns and request for investigation by the letters of concerns and request go to for investigation by the Ombudsman and circulate this motion as amended to other municipalities. I believe that's also been added, including AMO.
Great.
And AMO. Thank you.
Thank you. So, motion as presented. Thank you, Councillor Pearson. All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you. Councillor Pearson again, a motion on the Golden Horseshoe Food and Farming Alliance.
Thank you. It's been moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Judy Partridge, appointment to the Golden Horseshoe Food and Farming Alliance, GHFFA, whereas Golden Horseshoe Food and Farming Alliance directs the opportunities and actions of the Golden Horseshoe Agriculture and Agri-Food Strategy with a vision of retaining, enhancing, and expanding the region's role as a globally renowned food and farming cluster. Thank you. Would you like me to go now, therefore? We all have it before us that Councillor Judy Partridge be appointed as the City of Hamilton's representative on the Golden Horseshoe Food and Farming Alliance for 2018 to 2022 term of council.
Great. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Councillor Danko, you have a motion respecting subcommittee appointments for 2018-2022. You want to hit your request? There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My motion moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Jackson, that the council member appointments to the following subcommittees for the 2018 to 22 term of council be approved. School Board Properties Subcommittee, Maureen Wilson. Procurement Subcommittee, Narinder Nan. Hamilton Water Subcommittee, Narinder Nan.
Great, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Vanderbeek, you have a motion respecting the Rural Ontario Municipal Association.
I do, thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Whitehead. Whereas the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, the rural arm of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, takes pride in promoting, supporting, and enhancing strong and effective rural governments. And whereas they've initiated a call for nominations, therefore be it resolved, the Council for the City of Hamilton endorses Councillor Ferguson for the position of Roma Zone 3 representative for the 2019 to 2023 Roma Board.
Okay, thank you. Not Councillor Partridge? I guess not. No. Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Brenda Johnson, you have a motion regarding the subcommittee terms of reference.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pearson, the subcommittee terms of reference amendments. These are committees that are either increasing or decreasing in members of council, and they're before you. There's exactly 9 of them.
Okay, there's a bit of a roadmap there, so it's before you. All in favor? Carried. Any opposed? Thank you again. Councillor Marula, motion regarding the agencies, boards, and tribunals. Get your request button there. There. Okay, I got Brad Clark for some reason. Why did that? Okay.
By Councillor Collins, the council member appointments to the following agencies, boards, and tribunals for the 2018-2022 term of council be approved. Heritage Green Community Trust Board of Trustees, Councillor Brad Clark, and Terraport Community Liaison Committee, Councillors Pearson and Collins.
Thank you. On that motion then, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wish to remind everyone that I have a conflict in Terrapure, so I can't participate in the second item. And as for the Heritage Green Community Trust Board of Trustees, I received a letter from the Integrity Commissioner advising that I can't participate.
Very good. Thank you. So all in favor of the motion then? Thank you. Councillor Wilson, you have a notice of motion. We're on to notices of motion now. Would you, you're going to leave it as a notice of motion? Do you want to present your notice of motion? Sorry? Yeah, you can present it, and then if you're not going to move it forward, then it can sit till the next meeting, and we can decide where we go from there. You want to hit your request?
Yes, I'd like to leave it as a notice so that it will go forward to January, as I understand the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, that's fine. Okay, thank you. So we're going to leave that as is. Councillor Clark, you have a notice of motion as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have three notices of motion. The first one deals with annual reports on discharges to the natural environment from the Dundas and Woodward Sewage Treatment Plant, or CSOs, and a protocol for notification to council. And there'll be some amendments in January to it because the numbers have changed slightly. 8.3 is an annual report on water main breaks, and 8.4 is regarding the city's outflow monitoring. The City of Hamilton has 24 outflows to the harbor, and it's come to my attention that only 10 are being monitored and 14 are unmonitored, and the Ministry of Environment is asking that we look at that, so I'll put it forward. Thank you. They'll say as notices.
Leave them all as notices of motion? Great, thank you. Councillor Nan, you have a notice of motion as well to request to waive the rules?
Yes, I'm requesting to waive the rules as it's a time-sensitive grant.
Okay, so moved and seconded by Farr, I heard first off. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Nan.
Thank you. So this is in, should I read out the therefore be it resolved? Is that all I do? Okay. So first of all, therefore be it resolved that A, that the funding for the following programs and initiatives to be financed by the Cell Tower Revenues Project be approved, the Hamilton Filipino Community Center be granted funds in the amount of $1,500 to provide free community programming through their various programs and committees located at 1275 King Street East in Ward 3. Moved by myself and seconded by Tom Jackson. Councillor Jackson.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thanks for Councillor Nunn. So we were at items of interest from members, and I'm going to start with Councillor Wilson and work around the room that way. Councillor Wilson, you're first up. Any items of interest, any announcements, any issues you would like to raise? Nope. Okay, Councillor Fart. Whoops, sorry, yes.
That was my fault, I hit late. Just one, and we'll be celebrating winter solstice at Corktown Park on Friday. So the days will get longer again and more sunshine and everything else after this second annual event. Tonight I appreciated, today, I appreciated the support from council to help fund, and wanted to share my thanks and congratulations in advance to the many volunteers who make this event possible. It's really a good time and a unique solstice festival, everything you could imagine in a winter solstice event. And a special shout out to the Hamilton Fire Department who worked closely with us this year. We weren't able to achieve it last year, but we'll have a giant bonfire in the middle of Corktown Park on Friday night. If that's not attraction, there's many others to be sure. So we'll see you Friday night at Corktown Park.
Thank you. Councillor Nunn? Any items of interest or announcements? Nope. Okay. Councillor Maroon? All good. Councillor Collins? Please share. Yeah.
I was just going to say Merry Christmas, season's greetings, and all the best.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you later on at our mayor and city manager's party. Councillor Collins. Oops.
Just a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone around the table and your families, and of course my constituents as well.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jackson.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize. I missed the early part and the start of the meeting. I can't thank you enough for acknowledging the memory and legacy of former cabinet minister, former MPP, and former alderman and colleague of mine for one term, John Smith, who passed away on December 6th. And if you just allow me to further expand possibly on your remarks of recognition, acknowledgement, and I attended the funeral service on behalf of council, Mr. Mayor, and at the Apostolic Holiness Church, and it was packed. Probably several hundred people were there, other dignitaries, and the pastor spoke, the Vietnamese pastor spoke, and if some of you did not know the history of MPP and Alderman John Smith, he was the originator and the helper of the original boat people from Vietnam, probably close to 3,000 that he helped to rescue and bring here as refugees to settle here in the Hamilton district area. Just a wonderful humanitarian and compassionate measure that he did, reaching out to people in need from a foreign land. That's the type of individual, Mr. Mayor, John was. In my one term, in fact it was less than one term, because he had left before the term was over to get an appointment. He was offered an appointment with the Federal Immigration Board, which was absolutely appropriate given some of his background and his accomplishments. So, but in that less than one term, he had become my first term. He had become a mentor to me, and he taught me so much about the love of people, the love of public service, the humility of it all, the patience of it all, and to understand the needs and concerns and work closely with the constituents that had given him and I the honor and privilege of representing them at the municipal level. John also was ahead of his time, Mr. Mayor, in terms of seniors. He was a household name at Macassa Lodge. Staff, the frail elderly residents that reside there, the families of the frail elderly residents, he was a household name. And before all the programs that the municipality has adopted and brought forward, our age-friendly city, our mission vision statement to age successfully, long before that, he was ahead of his time in raising the awareness of seniors, of aging, of allowing those that wanted to live the twilight years of their lives in dignity and respect, and having proper support systems for them at home if they wish to stay home, having the proper institutions, the proper homes for the aged that they were known then, now long-term care facilities in place. So he was definitely ahead of his time. Went on to be MPP for Hamilton Mountain, Minister of Correctional Services as well, and also had a chairmanship with the Workers' Compensation Board. Wonderful family along the way, love of his life, Judy, that he married. I believe they were married for almost 42 years before his unfortunate passing on December 6th. 3 adorable kids, all adults now with families, Jock, Drew, and Haley. And I got to see them all at the funeral service. It was some form of a reunion, if you will, Mr. Mayor, but just loved his city, loved specifically and particularly his mountain community, and was highly revered. He may have been physically small in stature, but was a giant amongst his constituents and amongst the Hamilton Mountain community, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to miss him enormously, politically and personally, but his legacy will live on, and I can't tell you how much he taught me in all the years that I've remembered to ensure that the people always come first. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And now, if I also may wish all of my constituents of the East Mountain a very Merry Christmas, to my friends in the Jewish community, Happy Hanukkah, and a happy, healthy, prosperous New Year to all. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much, and well said. Appreciate the comments, and I'm sure there's lots of folklore around John Smith and his time in politics, and we'll share some of those stories some other time, but a very well-remembered and revered individual for sure. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Pauls.
Well, I too want to thank everyone and wish everybody a Merry Christmas. But I want to take a few minutes to thank the staff of this great city, how they were willing to help me and to meet one-on-one. I also want to thank all the councillors for meeting with me and for giving me advice as well. And the mayor, I want to say thank you for welcoming me here and for giving me advice, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Well, you know what? It is Christmas. Hopefully we'll keep that mood going all year. But that is very nice to hear, and thank you very much. I think we have great staff, and I'm glad to hear that they've helped you along in getting established here, which is never an easy process. I remember my time doing that, and it was funneling a lot of information in a hurry, and you need some time to kind of absorb all of that, and our staff are very patient. So thank you for that compliment. John Paul Danko.
Said Councillor Pauls, and I want to echo that sentiment. It's been an interesting couple weeks, and I'm looking forward to a little bit of a break to catch up. But I really appreciate how accepting everybody's been around the horseshoe, and also the assistance from staff. So Merry Christmas, and hope everyone has a great New Year.
Great, thank you very much, Councillor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And on December the 27th, everyone is invited to attend the Lowith's Farm. They have their annual New Year's Eve on the 27th. They're at 1399 Power Line Road. It's a dairy farm. It is one of the largest dairy farms in all of southern Ontario. They have over 850 head of dairy cow. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful time to tour the barn, to see how an automated operation is, and to meet all the Lowith family. They are just tremendous. Later that day, from 2 till 4, I have a free skate at the Carlisle Arena. And on the 28th of December, from 2 to 4, a free skate at Harry Howell Arena. On January the 1st, my annual levy is at the Waterdown Memorial Artificial Ice Skating Loop, and everyone is invited. From 2 to 4, the Carlisle Optimist will provide free hot dogs, free cider, free hot chocolate. And last year we had about 500 to 600 people, so it's a very, very well-attended ice loop. They're not there for me. They're there for the ice loop and the free hot dogs, I'm sure. But and from the Partridge family to all my colleagues, all our staff, a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. And the ice loop is ready to go right now. It's been operational for... The ice loop. Sorry, I'll get you back on. Yep.
Yes, thank you. The Waterdown Ice Loop has been in operation for about a week. and very well attended. Even this morning when I drove by at 7:30, 7:45, there were people skating on it who make it their routine to go there every morning. So all invited, come to Waterdown.
Yeah, you should come to Waterdown and enjoy the ice loop. It's great. Councillor Whitehead.
And I will spare my council with my annualized Christmas poem. I did do that at a recent event, and it was well received. I want to thank the colleagues. It's been enlightening and very enjoyable to welcome the new members of this council. I want to indicate to the broader community that each and every one of them brings something to the table that is very valuable to the conversation and dialogue that we have now and will continue having moving into the future. And I know that I extend my door and my facility and capacity to help and assist in any way I can. We will have disagreements at this table. One thing I've always enjoyed about this table is it stays on the ice. We don't take it off the ice because we're here to do the best we can to represent our community, and when we leave this horseshoe, we continue moving forward on issues where we have consensus and agreement, and we respectfully can differ on issues that we have differences on. So that spirit seems to continue with the current makeup of this council, which I admire and makes it so enjoyable coming here every day. And I also want to wish all Hamiltonians, including obviously the new Ward 14, a very Merry Christmas, a happy holiday season, and a safe holiday season. I would only ask those to reach out to those that are isolated, reach out to those that are in need, to extend your hand and bring some warmth and support for those individuals. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Councillor Van Der Beek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder that Dickens of a Christmas continues in Dundas this weekend with horse and buggy rides and various other things, cider and all sorts of good surprises. So do shop local and come down to Dundas and just check out what's there. A Merry Christmas to everyone, season's greetings, and a Happy New Year to everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. And the drive-through park skating rink is open as well, ready to go. The drive-through park skating rink. One more time. Here we go.
Yes, the driving park skating rink is open and doing well. We've had good cold weather, and so it's certainly open to family skates. There's no hockey on it, so you can take your small ones down there and skate to your heart's content.
It's another lovely place to go for those that have time over the holidays. Another great place to visit. Councillor Brenda Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to put a big, huge shout out for the volunteers in Bimbrook who did the Bimbrook tree lighting, and also to the volunteers of Mount Hope who did the Mount Hope tree lighting. They both were huge successes, lots of turnout, lots of fun things for the whole family to do, and they do it for the goodness of their heart and for the better of their community, and I couldn't be more proud. Just a couple of announcements. We have 2 New Year's Eve celebrations coming up. One is at the 447 Wing, and the other one's at the Bimbrook Agricultural Society. So if you want more information on tickets, please call or look at brendajohnson.ca for details. Also, December 12th to March the 17th, the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum is hosting the ACE Academy Flight Experience exhibit until, as I said earlier, March 17th. Visitors will have a chance to virtually pilot a First World War biplane. It's a great exhibit to take the kids over the Christmas holiday break. And speaking from experience, I've now been on the Stearman, and that's the one where you get the bugs in the teeth. And the other one is the Norseman. And I can tell you they're both Christmas gifts. They're awesome opportunities for the family to get up and be in an actual plane that was in the war. And remember, every day is November the 11th at the Canadian Warplane. Merry Christmas to all the residents, citywide, to the staff, to my colleagues, and let's make 2019 the best.
Thank you. Councillor Maria Pearson. Here we go.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would be remiss, and this has been the first opportunity to really mention it, but the Remembrance Day ceremony this year in Stony Creek, you know, we have the group of the cadets in Stony Creek. We've been able to give them space at the Salt Fleet Community Center, and they do a great amount of training. They'll be our future protectors going forward in future years. I'm looking forward to a lot of them continuing to be involved in our national defense. But on Remembrance Day, every year we recognize the loss of veterans who fought and served our country. This year the cadets not only did, I'm going to say it, a skit recognizing the veterans, but they certainly went well and beyond, and they did a skit in memorial for Nathan Cirillo. It was an excellent, excellent presentation. It really moved, I think, everybody that was standing there to see not just having his helmet, but his boots being carried forward, and recognizing the day and how the events laid out when he was unfortunately killed at Parliament Hill, protecting the cenotaph on behalf of veterans as well. So a shout out to the cadets for a tremendous job, and certainly look forward to everything they do year-round, and especially at Remembrance Day. While I'm here, I would also like to extend a very Merry Christmas and safe and Happy New Year to all the residents of Ward 10, especially, and the City of Hamilton. Please remember our young people out there. I try and stress that every year. They're out there having fun. We don't have any snow as yet, but when we do, you know, they're running around. Slow down, be cautious, and let them enjoy and grow up as youngsters in our community as well. So please, that's a shout out I have. And a reminder too that if you go to our City of Hamilton website, City Hall will be shut down from Tuesday, December 25th to January 1st, and it will open on Wednesday, January 2nd. But if you go to www.hamilton.ca, you'll see the holiday schedule of what's open and what's closed. So please take an opportunity to look at that. And I hope residents will take an opportunity to get out to our museums. All of our museums from Whitehorn, Dundurn Castle, Battlefield House do a tremendous job in recreating Victorian Christmas of the era. And it is a great opportunity to see how our ancestors lived. So I hope they take advantage of that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you very much. Councillor Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank our city clerks for what I thought was one of the best council orientations that I've ever experienced. The professionalism, the insight, the workshops, the IT training, which I desperately needed, was incredibly helpful, and I don't think I'd be prepared for my job had I not gone through the entire process. So I really want to thank them. They do an awful lot for us every day. We know that, but publicly I want to thank them for doing that. And also I'd like to thank the senior leadership team. I've had a plethora I got that from Councillor Whitehead. A plethora of briefings, and they've been fantastic. So bringing me up to speed on what's been happening and where we're going has been very helpful. Their candor, their professionalism, and really prompt response with my questions. I really respect and I appreciate all of their efforts. And to my colleagues and to everyone in the city, I wish you blessings of the season. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And from me as well to all of our citizens, from one end to the other, Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, and Happy Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad, and whatever you're celebrating over the holidays, we wish you well and enjoy your time. And to our council colleagues and all of our staff, it's been an interesting year overall, and I think we look forward to a great 2019, as we always should, and I'm sure it will be. And we wish that we will continue the good work that we started here just recently, and hopefully the good feelings as well, because everyone's participating and contributing as they should, and that bodes well for our future 2019 council work. There is an opportunity for us to come together this evening. Hopefully you'll attend, between council and senior staff and admin staff, to come to the Black Rabbit Social Club. It's formerly serves. It's at 107 King Street East. Come and join us for some camaraderie and some fun. There are a number of events that are happening there, and obviously if just bringing some Christmas good wishes would be great as well. So hope to see you there. And on that note, we are going to move into camera. So we have two items to deal with. Madam Clerk, are we not?
We do, but prior to that, we just have the minutes of the closed meeting on September 26th to approve.
That one, yes, okay. So a motion for the September 26th meeting closed session minutes as presented. Any comments or questions? If not, a motion. Moved by Partridge, seconded by Pearson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So may I have a motion to move into closed session pursuant to Section 8.1, subsections E, F, of the city's procedural bylaw, 18270, and section 2392, subsection E and F, as the subject pertains to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the city and the receiving of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. So could I now ask that so on that motion then, all in favor, moved by Pearson, seconded by Farr, all in favor? Carried. I now ask any members of the public and media to vacate the building, and that we will be returning after our deliberations once the frosting noise is back, has been eliminated. Council chambers will be open, and we will deliberate on the issues that we are dealing with this afternoon. Thank you.